broadcast right now. All right, aloha and welcome to those of you who are watching this in the future. This is a recording for another one of our paradigm shift circles. So these are normally the non-recorded, voice-only facilitated conscious conversations that we do Monday to Friday at 1 p.m. EDT. Every now and then we do practice recording them, so that's what today's is. And yeah, I'll be facilitating today's circle discussion on what is the soul is today's question. So we'll go over just a few guidelines. And again, for anybody who isn't already yet and looking to connect with future circles, you can join simply by connecting to the Discord. Link for that's in the info for this video. And again, Monday to Friday at 1 p.m. EDT, voice only, free to join. And yeah, happy to have everyone's support and looking forward to new people getting connected, which is part of the big reason why we create the little recording, so more people can find out about it. And if you found out about it, then yeah, feel free to join in when you can. And you'll definitely be able to catch recorded ones here and there. So shout out to those of you on the YouTube. Again, feel free to jump over to the Discord if you're able to do so and want to jump in at any point. And with that said, I'll just go over some basic instructions. And then from there, we'll get right into the discussion for what is the soul. And I was saying before the recording, I'm like, ooh, like I'm excited about this one. This is like such a big metaphysical question. So I'm excited to share, and real quick, we'll just go over some basic guidelines that we would read at the start of any of our paradigm shift circles, give or take. Thank you everyone for joining today's Paradigm Shift Central Circle. Before we get started, here are a few guidelines and reminders. And yes, I'm aware that when I do this, it's like, I remind myself of like a flight attendant. It's just like, welcome to today's flight for Paradigm Shift Circle. So here we go. Paradigm Shift Circle, Central Circles are an intentional sacred space created to host inspirational conscious conversations to nurture our spirits and build community. And they're also a place for us to practice communicating. Circles are not recorded unless mentioned otherwise, such as today. At the end of the circle, a screenshot will be taken with the names of those in attendance, but you're welcome to opt out of that if you wish. We will let you know beforehand when the screenshot will be taken. Please respect the instructions of the facilitators of the circle. Please respect the intention of the space. Please respect your fellow members. You are welcome to simply listen in or to speak in the circle. To step on stage and speak in the circle, please use the hand raise button and wait to be brought on stage by a facilitator. Once on stage, please wait for the facilitator's prompt to speak. If you are already on stage and wish to speak next, this part's important, please blink your microphone by clicking the mute and unmute button a few times and wait for the facilitator's prompts. Circles generally go up until the hour. We will include with gratitude at 5 minutes to the hour, give or take, but we might go a little bit longer, we'll see. Please tell your friends and invite others who may be interested. If you have not already, please feel free to check out the Patreon where you can join as a member in the community and to be able to join in for future exclusive events and additional perks and benefits within the community. And that is the $11 monthly membership option with the upgrades there as well. So thank you so much for joining and contributing, and enjoy. So with that said, thank you so much to those of you who are joining or listening into the future. And again, for anybody in the audience, please feel free to raise your hand. I'll start talking for a little bit and then I'll check in to see who wants to go next. And then from there, we will just go with the flow. And that's exactly what this is, a chance for us to kind of practice communicating as the universe, talking about itself in a very meta way, I'm aware, with especially with today's topic of what is the soul. So I'll take a swing at this first, practice, listen to my heart, see what I have to say about this, and then whoever wants to go after me, I'll do a check-in with the microphones. And so let's begin. Cool. All right. When I approach these questions, for me, it's like mental ninja gymnastics. It's like trying to think of stuff. So with this topic, what is the soul? I think this is ultimately a question that we go through our lifetime learning and exploring, and ultimately is a question of like to know thyself, nasa te ipsum, but also one thing to just be able to kind of like help us understand the soul from a metaphorical perspective, because this is what I find that if I can create like a metaphor, if we can create a metaphor, then it makes it easier to often understand these quite bigger topics. And so with this topic, the idea that what is the soul, to me, it's very similar to if you think of people on a stage and you have actors on a stage and people are acting and they're portraying characters. And if you're in the audience, you're invested in that. And you're like, oh, that guy's playing like a pirate, or that guy's playing like a king or something like that. And you're in that story. The soul within that metaphor is the actor who's playing the character. And so that actor, you know, it is something that is coming and going off stage, and that stage is very much like the metaphor of our waking life, like the incarnation that we play, the character, the outfit, the mask. That's very much what we usually identify as like the ego. The ego is kind of like this version of us that is birthed out of the environment of the world around us, so to speak. But the soul is something that exists separate from that reality. It is something that exists not separate, but like outside of it. So what seems to happen, and I'm just gonna take 1 second here, I just want to make sure my fan's not picking up on the microphone. But what seems to happen, and I'll just say this, and for whoever wants to go next, go ahead and blink your mic now. And for those of you who have just joined us, again, if you'd like to join up on stage, go ahead and use the hand raise feature. If you're new to the stage thing on Discord, there's a little hand thingamajiggy button. So try pressing that and we can bring you up on stage to speak. Anyone's welcome to come up. And I'll just riff for a little bit longer and then I'll pass it over to whoever's next or whoever wants to come up on stage. And did Kelly or Sir Johnson, do either of you guys want to go next? If so, blink your microphone and then I'll know and then I'll pass it to you in a second, or anybody else who wants to come up on stage. Okay, I'll just keep going for a little bit and then we'll definitely pass it to someone. So Carly, we can pass over to you in a second if you'd like to go next. Okay, so what I was going to say, so I think one of what I've found as like a logical way to approach this concept of understanding what the soul is, I think it helps by getting a bunch of us onto the similar page of seeing how it relates to the metaphor of the actor portraying the character in something like a stage play. And it's actually very similar to kind of like the process of me playing a video game and having a character in a video game, but clearly that character in the video game is not me. But that character in the video game still does have a reality. It still has an existence. It has its own story, so to speak, using that metaphor in that relative context. So again, I think what is the journey that we are on is kind of this journey of literal awakening and that aha moment where you're like, oh, like I remember I'm the actor. I remember I'm the player. I remember I'm the daemon. The daemon is like another term that is like an actual old term that they used to describe this concept. It's like the part of us that's kind of like playing this part of us. And the whole idea is like, this is where it gets really trippy. And I'll just speak here for a minute and then I'll pass it to Carly. Cause like, it's like, hold on, like buckle up. We're going down like metaphysical, you know, like rabbit holes here. Like this topic, I'm just like, okay, if we can move through this topic together as a team, we're doing it as a soul talking about itself so it can understand itself, which is the whole intention, this and any of the circles. So I'll just say this real quick, where I think there's this idea that we can begin to understand that whatever the soul is, it's like a part of us that exists outside of this bubble of time. Like it's on another layer of time that has the ability to traverse time. And I think what's powerful is the idea that through our dreams, it is very much us having a literal like something that you experience, a direct experience, a gnostic experience of this soul-like nature of our being. Through our dream space, we literally experience past lives, future lives, other dimensions, other beings, other entities. This isn't skepticism. Like this isn't me being like assuming like this is true. Like we have experienced this, all of us, in different ways, and we're not always fully conscious of it, which is half the point. But it's definitely a thing. So every time when we night, it's like every time when we go to sleep at night, we come into direct experience with this part of ourselves that is connected to this soul-like energy. And I think the idea of the soul, this is the last thing I'll say. Sorry, I've been babbling on here, but I'll finish up. This idea that like, oh, I feel like I lost my thought there. Damn it, hold on, did I lose my thought? Wait, give me 2 seconds here, guys. Okay, what I was gonna say is that basically about the soul. I think I forgot what I was going to say. Looks like I'll have to come back to it later. That's what happens when I think too hard. So what I was going to say in general though is that this journey of us talking about the soul and discovering the soul is definitely this thing where, yeah, it's literally like us opening. Oh, okay, this is what I'm going to say. I remember now. This is important. So important that I had to lose it in order to find it again. What a common theme that we have within this soul journey. Oh, you value something? Here, let's try losing it. Now let's see if you can find it again. Oh, you found it again? Good, don't lose it again. So what I was gonna say here is yeah. Oh wait, did I forget again? Sorry, I feel like I'm okay, now I'm making a fool of myself. What I was gonna say though was, what was I gonna say? Oh yeah, this is so important. Okay, I got it. we have to, I think what's powerful is when we come to the understanding, the realization of talking about what the soul is not talking about a part of ourself that is separate from self. It's just talking about a bigger understanding of what the self is as a whole. You are never not your soul. The soul isn't something separate from you. The soul isn't like this thing that is just like an idea outside of yourself. Like, you experience it because you are it in this physical incarnation, beyond this physical incarnation. And I think that's kind of like a really, really, really important thing to just kind of like begin to understand, is that what is the soul? The soul is us, and we are literally awakening to our multidimensional nature of who we are, I would say. Which, again, and very simply put, it's like, if you're talking about soul, you're talking about the multidimensional nature of things. So by talking about the soul, it's helping us understand more what it means to be a multidimensional being, which is really like what started me off on a huge part of my journey, way, just like back in like the day when I was first getting into like learning about astral projection and lucid dreaming. I was like, wait a second, like slamming my fist on the table. I'm like, you're telling me that we're multidimensional beings? And the person, I'd be like, yes, we are. I'm like, why didn't they tell me this? Like, why did I have to wait this long for someone to tell me this sort of thing? So, and now a lot of us are learning and we're figuring it out and we're exploring it. So, okay, let's keep going. I got more I'll say later, and I'll pass it over to Carly. And again, for anybody who's just joined in, welcome to Coast to Coast AM in a version that is essentially paradigm shift style. And we'll keep having fun here. We'll keep exploring this question, and we'll pass it to Carly. And anybody else who wants to raise their hand and come up on stage, welcome to Anto, and welcome to Tyner as well. Happy to be able to have you guys here, and welcome to Alyssa as well, as who's also, I know we got some new faces, so happy to have everyone here. Carly, I'll pass it over to you. Carly, what is the soul? Help us solve this grand mystery that we are on. Thank you, Carly, and welcome.
Hello, so grateful to be here. I love this topic. I remember when I first saw the movie was coming out, Soul, and I just lost it. I watched the preview about a billion times, and I was just like, this is what I've been waiting for. It's like, and I think that's how our soul feels too when we do start our awakening journey of, I don't know if anybody has done, thank you, honey. My son is here with me. We're doing lunchtime. I don't know if anybody has seen or has done eye gazing. Wow, see, I almost lost my train of thought. Um, and eye gazing is just like has been such a powerful practice for me anyway in my journey of just like looking deeply into my own eyes and seeing the part of me that hasn't been hurt, that inner being that doesn't accept the things that happen to me as negative or positive. It doesn't put judgment on that. It just is. It's experienced everything as part of this journey, and it was aware that it was going to happen long before it actually happened. So, that whole idea that our soul doesn't fear anything, it doesn't judge anything. It's just that deep connection to source that really just exists, and is there entirely, just waiting for us to realize that it's been there, waiting for us to kind of shed these external layers and this idea of who we're supposed to be, or our ego's version of what we need to fight for, or our need to be right, or whatever it might be that we've identified with, and just shedding those layers and just recognizing like, oh my gosh, I'm merely just a reflection of everybody around me, everyone I've ever interacted with, every experience I've ever had. Like, these are all just beautiful experiences that have added to my soul's journey in order for me to awaken to it. So I did a lot of eye gazing that really just allowed me to forgive myself and accept myself as who I was, and accept everything that had happened to me, all of the people who had hurt me, and just like really integrate that back as like part of my soul's journey. I also did a shamanic healing where she did soul integration for me. And that was very powerful, hearing what my soul looked like, where in her shamanic journey, it's literally like, it was like the way she described it was this ethereal forest, like pinks, shimmering green. She's like, I've never seen anybody's soul look like yours did. Like, it like makes me really emotional to talk about. It's like, she was like, it was like this room, but you had boxed yourself in, like, and then when we like did the soul awakening journey, she's like, it expanded, and you were just like open and free. And by the end of the journey, I was leading everyone like in this parade. I had gone into this temple and bathed in the waters and become this goddess version of myself again. And it was like, yeah, that's what my soul needed to remember. Like that's 100% who all of our souls are these goddess light warrior being, God and goddess light warrior beings, however you identify. And us just stepping back into our full power and our recognition of how much we can consciously create on this earth realm. So I could ramble about this forever, but thank you all for listening, and I can't wait to hear what everyone else has to add.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Carly. Beautiful. And it really inspires me again within this conversation, as much as I can be like, oh, like here's what the soul is. I think that's beautiful that we can also invite into this space, as you have shared already, is just kind of reflecting on those moments within our life where we've had very soul-like experiences. And Sir Johnson, I'll pass it to you next. And as you were saying, like, just like I absolutely agree. I have definitely had like absolutely 100% like experiences within my reality that are very like, just like multi-dimensional, and it's just like, whoa, like, and that's where with many types of altered consciousness experiences, especially when you are in those altered states and you're in these places, you're like, this is more than the reality that I'm normally familiar with. Like there's something else. Like what else is there to this reality? And it's us. And I'll just say this on pass it to Sir Johnson, where, I love the idea that a lot of people really like and enjoy the phrase like namaste, and just kind of what that really means, because that so much is the idea of the soul seeing itself. And so when you get into the space of realizing we're all like gems on Idra's net, we're all like little water droplets and jewels on a spider's web, looking back at each other, where each of us was reflecting the infinity of the whole. Like, I know that sounds beautiful, but that's literally what we are. We're like these like holographic beings that are sacred mirrors for each other, and we see ourselves through each other. And so when you truly do see the other person as a reflection of yourself, or as an extension of yourself, it really changes how you see yourself and how you show up for others as well. So I'll pass it over to Sir Johnson. Thank you again, everyone. And for anybody who wants to come up on stage and practice sharing, please feel free to raise your hand. Tyner, if you're not too busy, dude, I would definitely encourage you to give it a shot. Tyner is one of my buddies who's been in some physical paradigm shift meetings. So Tyner, happy to be able to have you swinging by and checking it out. Pass it over to Sir Johnson, and then would anybody want to go after Sir Johnson? I'm not sure, Kelly, if you wanted to go again, or otherwise we'll just keep kind of passing around. Okay, let's pass over to Kelly after Sir Johnson. Sir Johnson, when you're ready, go right ahead. Passing over to you.
Hey, so like I woke up this morning, and this topic of conversation was in my mind, and I thought the first thing I thought was like the soul is beautiful. I couldn't explain why. I didn't understand why. Since Carl is described about this beautiful forest, it's making sense to me as why my mind straight went to the soul is beautiful. A thought that I had as well, you mentioned about dreams, and that's another thing that I was thinking. Like when we're asleep, our subconscious takes us to this entirely new realm that we create in our mind. We've even never seen it before, but yet our mind creates it. So that's probably not even our mind. That's our soul transported to a different realm, and those realms are just absolutely beautiful, breathtaking almost. And that's I'm not too good at like explaining things the way I want to, but in my mind's eye, perfect, but outside, not so much. I'll pass it on to whoever's next.
Thank you, dude. Thank you for sharing. And I totally, you did a great job of explaining. I can totally like, again, we're feeling into similar things that we've experienced in different ways. So, dude, I'm happy to hear you share that, and thank you again. Tyner, I'm going to bring you into the stage, and we'll just double check your microphone. And if Tyner is ready, we can pass over to him, then pass over to Kelly next. Tyner, welcome on stage. You go ahead and test your microphone. Let me know. Would you like to share something next?
Yeah, sure. Is it working?
Yeah, it's working.
I actually downloaded Discord for this meeting, so I'm just setting everything up right now.
Perfect, dude. I'm glad that DM I sent to you made it in time. So awesome, dude. Sweet. Well, Tyner, we'll pass it over to you. Jessica, I can see you raising your hand. We'll bring you up on stage. And Tyner, yeah, go ahead and just practice listening to your heart and answering the question, what is the soul? So welcome, Tyner. Go right ahead.
Thanks, Brendan. And thanks everybody for coming to join in and talk about this question. And it's a question that we kind of already know the answer, right? And Brendan touched on a few of things about where we get hints about where the soul is for us. And a big thing that I've been just trying to recognize is in my dreams, the little glimpses that I get of being where it is throughout time and where it is for me right now. There was a great story I read recently about the Naskapi people of South America, and they live in non-localized family, kind of just non-communal family organized living. So they kind of have independent farm homesteads, not too much farming, agriculture, mostly hunting. And a big way that the Naskapi will navigate their world is by dreaming and paying attention to their dreams and being connected to them. And they have this concept called Mistapio, or like great man or great person, and great being, really. And the more that they give honor to Mistapio, the more fortunes come into their lives, the more, synchronicities start to happen. The more they are led towards the best hunting spots, the more they're able to prepare for that storm, or just the average things that life entails that, enhance their experience in the physical. And when, the connection with Mistapio is, they say that the Naskapi would, when communicating with Westerners, to say that, the connection with him is strengthened through, non-violence towards fellow beings, not taking life unnecessarily, or, not spreading unkindness. And then through giving honor to their dream space and their dream time and the expressions and the symbols that are revealed to them, they're able to see more of who they are on a great scale. And there's also the concept of Mistapio being a timeless spirit, sort of like the same with the daimon that Brendan touched on. That was sort of the Greek concept of the soul as the companion that's sort of on your shoulder, like the guardian angel that the Christians called it in medieval Europe, or like the genius that the Romans called it, as that little spark of being, right? Where the Gnostics call it the essence, the divine spark. That the more we give honor and strength to, as we talk about in these circles, what you put attention on grows, right? What you focus on grows. The more we are honoring our dreams, the more we're paying attention to synchronicities, the more we're meeting up in chats like this, the more honor we're paying to Mistapio, our genius, our daimon, the connection to what we signed up for in our, soul's contract to come down and experience the physical world. And, we all have that kind of timeline, and we know when we're sort of sinking out and when we're sinking in, right? And I think we're all sinking in right now and enjoying some time with each other. So thanks for allowing me some time to share, Brendan. Thanks for listening, everybody, here on Discord. Really appreciate your ears.
Awesome. Tyner, thank you so much, dude. Love being able to not only listen, but it's just good to hear from you in general, dude. Man, time is a crazy thing when it comes to souls. We'll find ourselves through it in like a helix, which is a beautiful thing in itself. So happy to helix back around, dude.
Helix within helix, man.
Dude, it is. It really is. And that's, again, like kind of what I was alluding to earlier. It seems to be this kind of very, reality seems to work in this way where it's basically like circles within circles within circles, helixes within helixes within helix, whatever the case may be. And so it's kind of like this idea of like souls within souls within souls, much like the Russian nesting doll kind of concept. But again, like these souls, it's not like they're separate. It's just like higher dimensional versions of each one, so to speak. So it's like who we are in the physical, that very much is like, it's still the soul, but even as Tyner was saying, it's a layer of the soul, exactly. And that kind of like what you were saying, like we can use this term like, yeah, like the divine, like the true self, like the divine essence, again, kind of like going to how the Gnostics explain it. And it's definitely relating to something that, again, it's like within this world, it's like, what is the experience? It's like you think about the narrative here, it's this powerful story, and I'll pass it over. Let me just double check. Who wants to go next? If you can just blink your microphone now. I know, Jess, you came up on stage, so if you want to go next or later, that's totally fine. But anybody else who wants to go soonish, go ahead and blink your mic. So we'll pass over to Jess after. And
I'm gonna bow out here.
that's totally cool, dude. I'm glad you're able to jump in, man. All right, take care, dude. See you around. So with again, like with this idea of thinking of it in like kind of like, yeah, different layers of itself, I think is a one way to be able to understand like what the soul is. But one of the things that's interesting, again, kind of what I was about to say, is this idea of, when you think about this story, it's like this idea that, you know, imagine yourself as like a conscious soul, and you see Earth as kind of like this like dome that you get to like kind of jump in. It's almost like a video game you get to enter, and it's just like, are you sure you want to go in that? It's like, yeah, like it's not always like a simple choice, but you know, like what the soul is doing when it comes into this reality, it seems as if this reality is designed to birth souls, to grow souls. And maybe that's kind of the point, you know, like our soul is literally something that is evolving and changing and growing, and the soul in itself is a story, but it's a story that, again, I think is much bigger. And what we can do for each other in community is help create experiences that we can connect to our soul through, be it meditation, celebration, speaking our truth, listening, creating together, all the things we're already doing here in this community. So yeah, I'll just leave it there. I'll pass over to Jessica, and thank you again, everyone, for hanging out with us today. And if anybody else wants to practice sharing before the end of the hour, go ahead and raise your hand at any point. Jessica, if you would like to go next, we can pass over to you on the question of what is the soul. Jessica, welcome. Go right ahead.
Hi, thank you everybody for this space. I had to write some things down because I can never remember by the time I want to talk. But anyway, I think that your soul is the very essence of who you truly are, what you stand for, your morals, who you resonate with, and what you truly want to be in the future. You know, I think that this day and age, a lot of our judgment gets clouded, and we're not really taught to think about what our soul wants in life. We're taught to think about money and bills and that sort of thing. So yeah, coming into trying to realize who I truly am, what I truly want in life, that's what I think the soul is. Thank you all.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you, Jessica. We'll continue to keep passing things along here. So whoever would like to go next, go ahead and gently unblink or blink your microphone. We'll pass it over to you. Again, I'll just kind of keep practicing talking until somebody else is ready to be able to jump in. So if anybody wants to raise their hand from the audience, feel free to do so. And yeah, again, you know, I think, what is the soul? The soul is something to be discovered. So the soul seems to be, as I'm just kind of going back and practicing answering my own questions, like, what do I know about the soul? I think the soul is like also a part of ourself that we connect to when we connect to like higher virtues, so to speak, when we connect to, again, kind of like this Buddha nature perspective. And that's really all it is. It's really just a perspective. I think once you become aware of who you are as a soul, you thus in turn become aware of the fact that everybody else is soul. And then through that, you're naturally called and conveyed to want to be able to help care about other people. You have empathy. You want to help people with things. You want to see them grow. You want to celebrate them as well. So I think what's interesting is this idea. This is kind of cool. I'll just add this in. You know, we talk about soul and we're talking about individual souls, but we also, each of us in our lifetime, we do have like basically soul families and soul mates and, you know, like different degrees of kind of like soul circles. And it's beautiful to think that, you know, the soul is a part of us that really does exist outside of time as we perceive it. But within this natural ability that it has this ability to connect with other souls beyond space and time. And this is where, again, you get into like beautiful ideas like what I've talked about in other circles, but it wasn't recorded, was like, again, kind of like concepts of the soulmate, where some ways of understanding it is literally this idea of like a soul splitting itself into two in order for it to be able to like come back together again. And perhaps the union of those two souls, like it literally like creates like a new soul or bursts a new soul. But that happens to all of us in different forms, in different ways. It's undeniable that there are souls within our life that, again, are there for a reason, whatever the reason may be, and different ways in which we grow and we learn. And it seems, again, like, and again, I'm just talking until somebody else wants to go next. So if anybody wants to go next, just blink your microphone and I'll pass it over to the next person who's ready. I'll pass it over to Kelly. Sorry, Kelly, I could pass it over to you earlier. I think I might have skipped that. So I'll just say, again, just on closing here, yeah, like the soul to me is an incredibly beautiful concept that goes hand in hand with carrying a higher perspective of hope for how this reality functions, how it is capable of navigating itself, bringing itself together, helping itself grow, giving itself the strength and the resources that it needs to. And I think the soul is kind of like the word that we use to point to that part of ourself. The soul is not even so much a thing. It's not like a what is the soul. It's more so what does the word soul point to? And I think what it points to is definitely this idea that we are much bigger than our physical bodies, than our perception of time, to this dimension, whatever that means to you. So yeah, and the last thing I'll just say, when we awaken to what we are pointing at as soul, that literally goes hand in hand with what we talk about many different times in other circles, the whole idea of like the dream awakening to itself, the dreamer with a awakening within the dream. So it's almost like, what is the soul? The soul, again, like even still, it's kind of like we are waking up to it. It is waking up to us. So yeah, lots more to be able to talk about. And thanks again, everyone, for joining in. Pass over to Kelly, and then whoever wants to go after Kelly, just go ahead. If someone wants to blink their microphone now, and if anybody from the audience wants to be able to come up on stage and raise your hand, please feel free to do so. In the meantime, I'll pass it over to Kelly, and then we'll go from there. Kelly, when you're ready, go right ahead.
Hi all. Yeah, I wasn't going to speak on this because I have more questions than answers, but I guess that's how it goes. So I feel like the soul is I don't want to say the real me, as if the rest of us are fake or something, but the constant me, I guess, that would be going throughout lifetimes and being different genders and different creatures. And I've talked to psychics who look at past lives for a living and heard all sorts of different cool things that makes me think of my soul being in different bodies in different places as a fun thing to think about. And then I have this, I was going to be shy to say this, but then you said something that I was like, okay, I'll say it because it's kind of something about what you said. I have this remembering that I don't think it was a dream. People would say this is a star. So I have this remembering of volunteering to come to Earth, where I feel like the other person that I was talking to was like a feminine presence, and saying like a bunch of people had already gone, and the idea was kind of like, we have enough people there, and I volunteered, and they're like, are you sure? And I'm like, yeah, I'll go. Like, kind of like, you don't need to go, like, if you don't want to. It's like, no, I'll go. And then I remember this, I've had this memory my whole life about saying, this time I won't get as caught up on everything. Like, I won't get so sucked into, I don't know, the material plane or something. Kind of like I was wanting to prove that to someone or myself or something. So what was that? My soul? And I was actually thinking about that this morning and kind of getting more from that scene. Fun thing to think about. I don't know if that inspired anyone else to share from the audience. I'll pass the mic back.
Thanks, Kelly. That inspires me a lot, because again, experiences like that with many of us go hand in hand with an idea that for a lot of us, I correlate to like a remembrance. Like if it happened, then in some way there is, again, this familiarity to this concept of us kind of like being in a place before we came to Earth. It's interesting, especially if you have the opportunity to talk to kids and stuff, and if you ask them, it's like where did you come from? And like kids will be like, oh, like I came from the sun or something. Like I know children have said that before, like I've come from this realm of light or this place. There's like a actual memory that we have, and there's even meditations that I know there's one that went popular on TikTok, and it's basically like a past life guided meditation that kind of goes through the process where it's like, if I'm recalling correctly, where it's basically just like, okay, like remember what you did earlier today, and then remember yesterday, and then remember all the way back, and then it's like remember to your birth, and then it's like, and then remember beyond that, like before that is just an idea. I think I did it, but I didn't really get like something like too outstanding. But with that concept, again, I think it's very powerful, because even through our dream space, we have this ability to tap into this like ultra memory. Like even the Gnostics kind of talk about this ultra memory. That's where, for those of you familiar with the chakra meditations we do, the pulmonary chakras, that's correlated to the ultra memory. And the ultra memory is literally like almost like soul memory. It's memory that kind of connects into a web that's a little bit more outside of this time than we understand. So yeah, Kelly, I think that's that story that you've told, I feel it's 100% like relative, and again, I see it as like evidence that we can use to kind of help build this image of the soul. And that's the powerful thing, is there is this layer to the story, and this is where, again, you know, even within the community, a lot of stuff I love being able to focus on is, again, kind of like this soul story. And this is where I talk a lot about like the concept of light guardianship and everything like that. Like being a light guardian is kind of like something that would have been a part of your journey and a part of your story before you even incarnated here. Like it's actually something that you brought with you. And it's like this part of your personality that is like, yeah, I'm going to go into this earth and I'm going to help it evolve. I'm going to help shift the consciousness. And kind of like what Kelly was saying, it's just like sometimes like it's like the soul, it almost volunteers to go to Earth, like as if there are other places in the galaxy that it could spend an incarnation in, or so to speak. And so, I mean, again, you know, like as souls, yeah, it's like we are going, and you know, this week we've talked about healing, we've talked about celebrating ourselves, and it's like we are going through our own transformation. As we transform, it literally transforms like the soul of the planet, or like the collective soul, or the oversoul. And the oversoul is actually a term that for me, really, when I remember hearing it, I'm like, whoa, like I understand what that means. I know what that means. I got it. The concept of the oversoul for me, and I'll just say this, and whoever wants to go next, just go ahead and blink your microphone, or anybody from the audience, feel free to raise your hand. We're almost close to the end, but I'd love to, if there's anybody else who wants to, who maybe hasn't spoken yet, would like to jump in before we wrap up, feel free. But this concept of the oversoul, for me, I think I read it in a book once, way back when I was like in Vancouver in like 2009, and that was a big point in my journey, because I was really becoming aware of synchronicities, but I was understanding what the synchronicities were. They were like literally communication with my oversoul. So I saw the oversoul as kind of like, it's like a that's the thing, right? It's like we can think of ourselves on layers. So it's like, oh, we can think of the soul, and then there's like, oh, okay, the soul is the actor underneath the mask or underneath the hat. You know, it's like literally what we wear during this reality, like that's kind of like our ego. Like we come in and we put on a hat and everything like that, but like underneath that outfit, the character, there's that. But then it's like it goes beyond that, and then it's almost like souls become like collective souls. And there's like the hive experience of multiple souls or something. Again, I'm not saying I fully understand it, but it just seems, it moves in a direction that's like literally almost intentionally outside of our perception. Like there's parts of this reality where it's like, it's almost as if the reality is like, yeah, you're not allowed to understand how that works yet. Your brain isn't literally capable of it, but you know what direction it goes in. And it definitely seems to, again, kind of paint this picture that this reality is, at the end of the day, this reality is incredibly beautiful. It is incredibly magical. And even if you're just like, I don't fully understand it, that's okay. Like we didn't have this discussion to come here to figure out one answer. Like even to just be in awe is worth it. Is like how we can like move through this reality and just know that this reality is like this incredible piece of magic, and like you are a part of it. And I feel like talking about the soul and exploring with the soul is again us pointing to the part of reality that's like, there's something magical there. I don't fully understand it, but I feel connected to it. And it's there. And you know, it's like when you think about it, it's like people who in this reality, they're like very in this reality, very into the science and the math and the logical, like really dialed into like the matter of this earth. And yet even that most extreme person, if you'd be like, well, how do you explain the soul? They're like, it's hard. They're like, it's magic. Like it's there, but I don't fully know it. But again, I honestly think like through discussions like this, I think we can grasp what the soul is. And again, I think it's something you can literally just refer to it as a higher self, if that's simple enough for you. I think of what moves in the direction of soul understanding is just moving in the direction of me being able to navigate this reality with more awareness, with more consciousness, with kind of that higher perspective, and with that perspective feeling my connection to like a soul path, my dharma, feeling a little bit more like connected to this bigger story that's unfolding, the deeper trust, the gratitude, the love, the will to create. And yeah, it's something I'm still exploring each and every single day, as we all are. I'll pass it over to whoever wants to go next. So whoever wants to go next, go ahead and blink your microphone, because I need to take a break from talking for a minute, and we'll pass it over to whoever's next. And then Lizzie, welcome up on stage. Lizzie, would you like to share next? If so, go right ahead and welcome.
Oh my gosh. I mean, the time is now, right? Now or never, right? And if not me, then who? I'm so happy I got to join in. It was my intention, but then I got held up. But honestly, that was so great, and thank you to you for sharing and everyone for listening. Like, to be able to put words to something that's just like undefinable is like so. Feels so good, feels expansive in the best sense of the word. I want to go live in my audience soon today, hopefully, and I'll let you guys know when that will be. I just wrote down like the headline for it, which is a funny quote that I said the other day, that there's more than one way to cut a watermelon, right? There's like infinite ways to cut a watermelon, and with such a broad, expansive topic like this, I tend to like to simplify it as best as I can. I think Albert Einstein said that if you are not able to define the thing in simple terms, then you really don't understand the thing. But yeah, I could go into the whole mass consciousness, divine consciousness thing here, and unfortunately I didn't get to hear the other speakers today. Darn rabbits, but yeah, I'm sure it was lovely, and the soul is like the in-between, I guess I would say, which is what the present moment is made up of, and I'll just leave it at that. So thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Lizzie, for joining in. I'm glad you're able to make it. And yeah, again, you know, like this is a conversation that I think it's like intentionally challenging, but at the same time, I think it's a powerful one to just be able to kind of explore. Because as with any of these circles, you know, I always see the ways in which we can talk here as being an opportunity for call to action. And so it's just like, what is the soul? It's like the soul is the awareness of the soul that is taking action from the awareness of the soul. And what action does that soul take, right? Like coming from that place, like to be aware of the soul, but also to be aware of it in a heart-centered way, where your intention is to be able to, again, help assist other souls through kindness and compassion and creativity and courage, and helping them lead themselves back to their remembrance of who they are, remembrance of the soul. So like this idea of what is the soul, whatever it is, you know, even if you just think of it as this idea, I'll just say this. I've said this metaphor before, and I think this is a good metaphor as well, where if and this was like based on like a thing that actually happened during like a little after an ecstatic dance circle, and basically like there was the ring of candles, and then there was like a couple candles and stuff in the middle. And looking at that ring of candles, I just kind of really clued in with the awareness of this idea that like each and every single one of those candles is separate. They're like us. All these candles are in a big circle, and each one is its own unique candle. However, each one of those candles is literally carrying the exact same flame. If you think about it, like from that perspective, it's the same light. And so that light on the candle, like that's basically our soul, if you were to think about it from that perspective. And then again, like with this awareness, it's this beautiful idea that as we move through this reality, we can really feel into the truth that each and every single person has that spark inside of them. And that spark is like there to be awakened, there to be uncovered. And so again, you know, I think just by us being ourselves, by us being kind, by supporting people, and holding space, we can naturally help others kind of tap into their awareness of their own spark, which again is kind of like what they talk about even in the Soul movie. It's kind of like that, but it's more than that. And connecting with your spark is connecting with a deeper remembrance of who you are on a soul level. Like that could mean beyond this lifetime, like understanding who you are as a soul. If you think about that, you know, like what does it mean to understand yourself as a soul? And we're going to get close to the end here. You know, understanding yourself as a soul would literally be able to be like, well, you know, without me assuming it's just my imagination, I can literally remember like past lives or future lives and things like that. Honestly, though, from my experience, so with the past lives and future lives, I don't really claim to have a specific full knowing of what my past lives were and my future lives were. However, what I do have and what I do for me just makes more sense. I don't necessarily lean into specifics for my understanding of past lives from a soul perspective. What I kind of pay attention to are like the themes and symbols of what I like vibe with when I think about past life stuff, or symbols I've had or things I've seen and things like that. And you know, for me, like it's a lot of like this like journey of like warriorship and soldier stuff, and I can assume in multiple lifetimes past life I've had this soldier stuff going on. I don't know the full details, and maybe that's a part of it. You know, it's just like there are probably parts of our soul where it's almost like strategic for us to not fully have full awareness of them, you know, for whatever reason that case may be, or at least just not at that time, so to speak. But to understand who we are as a soul is to, yeah, really kind of open up to a bigger understanding of who we are. And I think with that, which is again very much what I intentionally create space for in this community, that we create space for, is, you know, creating this space where people remember the part of them soul that is here on a mission. Literally is here for a mission. Like, do you remember the fact that you came here to be on a mission? And I just asked that question, and you can feel into it, and whatever you feel is your truth. But I think it's obvious that a bunch of us have definitely come here like to do something, right? So it's like remembering what that something is. Remembering what we are as a soul is remembering what our soul mission is, I would say, or at least eventually you can kind of get to that point as we continue to nurture our connection with it. And that's something very powerful. And I don't think it's that deep under the surface. I don't think there's that much dirt covered over top of it. I literally think that a single conversation with a stranger could help them connect to their soul. I literally think that for most of the people on this earth right now, if they felt like they were kind of distant from their soul, maybe just one conversation could at least just kind of like do something for them. Again, relatively speaking, but through our own action and leadership, again, you know, from this metaphor, it's like our light almost like dissolves the dirt that's covering the other person's light or something like that, you know, and they still do their own work as well. But I'll just kind of, before I get into like I basically like, we went a little bit over, but we'll just kind of wrap it up in the next minute. I'll add in some like final closing thoughts, but before we do that, anybody else who is on stage wants to be able to share, again, we'll get close to closing stuff, but we'll go a little bit past, no problem. And anybody in the audience who wants to practice sharing, and anybody who's on stage, if you want to go next, just go ahead and blink your microphone now in case there's a couple people, and I'll pass it over to you guys. And I would really appreciate if someone can jump in real quick, and if not, then I'll just do kind of, we'll get close to wrapping it up. So any closing thoughts, basically? Yeah, Kelly, go right ahead, and then any closing thoughts from anybody else. Go ahead, Kelly.
You mentioned asking children about what they remember about being born. I did that recently with my best friend's kid. And do you remember the day you were born? He was like, not really, but I remember seeing a city. And he was born in San Francisco. I wonder if he had a little glimpse as he was popping into a body. He just saw it like a Google Earth map kind of a thing or something. I don't know. I thought that would be really cool, though. I'm gonna ask more kids that now.
That's incredibly adorable, hilarious, and incredibly important. The fact that, yeah, it's just like as always, it's like kind of like flying in last minute to come in through this incarnation or something. That's very interesting, though. Again, you know, little experiences like that, lots of stuff that we would almost categorize as, you know, kind of fitting into this fringe category. Definitely being able to like kind of like think of those as glimpses of understanding the dynamics of the soul. Elisa, Deep Soul Mama, thank you for joining up on stage. We can pass over to you, and if you just want to check your microphone and just make sure that we can hear it okay, and then if you'd like to say anything, we can pass over to you. So just go ahead and try speaking. And It may not be working right away, so I'm not sure if you may need to try rejoining. Sometimes that works, or either way, we'll just give you a minute and hopefully we'll be able to get it fixed before the end of the broadcast. And anybody else who wanted to be able to practice sharing just any closing thoughts, and then we'll do gratitude after, and we'll do a little screenshot and housekeeping and stuff. Anybody else who wanted to be able to share real quick, and Deep Soul Mama, try again if you are working on tweaking stuff at any point. And yeah, okay, so moving into closing notes, just kind of closing thoughts for myself. Thank you again, everyone. This has been a fun conversation. I feel my paradigm shifting. I feel my consciousness expanding. I feel by us talking about what the soul is, again, you know, it kind of helps us understand what the soul is. We ask people this question, we get like different pieces of the puzzle, and it's a puzzle each of us are building each and every single day. And I think part of it is also about intentionally being curious, intentionally following that question, or just being that question. Live the question. You know, what is the soul? The soul is your experience. So even if you're just like, I don't know what it is, it's like, just be it. That's all. That's enough. That's all we have to do. Just be whatever you are, you know, be the soul and everything like that. So with this conversation coming to an end, I again just encourage everybody here to take this question and to try asking some other people in your day-to-day life about this question as well, and see what they have to say. I know Derek actually just joined in. So Derek, if you would like to be able to come up on stage, we're just about to get into closing thoughts and wrap things up. So if there's time for you, Derek, please feel free to join in. We'll pass it over to you. And yeah, just kind of finishing off on that thought, I really encourage everyone here with any of these circles to take any of the topics and maybe just try having a conversation with somebody in your life with the topic of the circle that we have, and continuing this conversation before and after. And yeah, we got lots more paradigm shift circles coming up next week, Monday to Friday at 1 p.m. EDT, and the new schedule for that is released on each weekend. So stay tuned for that. And again, just before we get into closing notes, just real quick, Derek, if you're able to, and if not today, then we'll definitely get you in for another one as well. So looks like Derek's gonna come up on stage, so we'll get things set up here and we'll do a quick sound check, and then we'll pass it. We'll let Derek finish off, and then from there we'll just kind of move into our screenshot and then closing gratitude. So Derek, you may need to, I'm not sure if it's working properly, you may need to like put your hand down and try raising again. Sometimes it's a little bit janky. There we go. All right, that worked. Just took a second.
What's going on, family?
Hey Derek, welcome to the circle, dude. With please go right ahead and share what is the soul. We've had a great conversation so far, but again, whatever you feel in this moment from your heart on this question. And thanks for joining, dude. Good.
Hey, thanks for having me, everyone. I'm sorry I showed up late. I wish I could have been here for the discussion. I know there's a lot of very bright and lighthearted individuals in this circle making this circuit, and I know I always love hearing what everyone has to say. We're really beautiful mirrors for each other. In terms of the soul, I've been having this conversation lately. I wish I had something a bit more prepared and cohesive. However, I feel like it's the part of us that's left when everything else is taken away. It's the part of us that enters into this vessel, into this vehicle, this avatar, and it's the part of us that does carry on after this life. I feel like it's the component of our consciousness that kind of retains these life experiences. And am I still here? Can anyone hear me? I don't know if I got demoted.
You're
I'll
good.
check
Go
1, 2,
ahead.
1, 2.
Keep going,
Okay, thanks,
Derek.
Jeff.
Yeah.
Thanks, everyone. With that, I was just the one point I've been making, I guess, in regards to kind of current topics, without getting into anything dark or controversial. I think there's a lot of fear of death, of the physical death, the body death. And one thing that might not be on many people's minds, or certainly in this circle it might be the exception, but in general mass consciousness, we feel like physical death might be one of the ultimate worst fates, even though it's something almost inevitable for us as far as we know right now. Whereas an ultimatum I've been putting forth is that what might be worse than physical death is a rapid change in consciousness in a direction that we didn't desire or expect. In the example, God forbid, hitting your head, or trying a hard drug and taking you off the path, or just in general going into a coma is a neutral example, where the person physically is right there, but consciously that spark, that individual, that being that you know, that divine reflection is no longer reflecting back at you in the way that you once knew them as. And I think that is a far more forgive the word, scary or more startling, more shocking. That would be something that a lot of us might not be considering right now, where it's the quality of our consciousness. And I think that directly relates to the soul, where we are so much more than the physical. And if we were only attached to the physical, we don't, in a lot of cases, we don't have to mourn when someone dies because we still have their body. And in a lot of times it's fully intact. It's not the body that we miss, it's that spark, it's that electrical energy, that light magnetism that animates us, that gives us character and charisma. And it's that part of us that I would attribute the label soul that we miss when it moves on, when it transfers over to a different plane of existence, different realm, different format. And I feel like going the opposite direction of saying we took a rapid shift diagonally downward or off the path based on some accident or some choice that we make that we weren't fully aware of or informed about. What if we also made a rapid transformation of consciousness upward and became far more, our soul's sphere of influence became much greater than it once was, exponentially expanded, perhaps in terms of circle of compassion and circle of connectedness to other beings, all life forms around us, regardless of what form they may take. So with that being said, to try and keep it short and concise, I think soul is a part of us that inhabits this vessel, this vehicle, for the purpose of learning lessons and life experiences. And it's the part of us that takes those experiences, those memories, those events that shape our consciousness and carries them over into the next stage of our existence past this chapter. And bless you all, beautiful souls, for listening. Thank you for giving me the stage and hearing me out.
Thank you. Thank you, Derek. I'm glad you're able to join in, dude. And we'll keep things going just for a little bit longer. I know Deep Soul Mama, if you want to try joining again, please by all means go ahead. We can extend the time as need be. And Derek, thank you again, dude, for sharing. You articulated it very, very well, just taking a lot of what we had covered here over the hour, but just being able to explain it very coherently, precisely. And yeah, I think you did a great job there. And that's a very powerful idea. Again, you know, kind of like this idea. Sorry, Derek, if you can just make sure you're on mute real quick.
Yeah, sorry, how many did it?
And I know Carly had their mic blinking, so I'll pass over to Carly. We'll just keep the conversation just for a little bit longer. Again, we're just kind of finishing it up. But yeah, that's a very powerful idea. The idea of, like, you know, the soul almost as like a property. It literally is like something that animates the body. So it's like something that can be there and not there at the same time. And like the body is literally like this, like, it's like it's a vehicle that can be driven by a soul. Like it's designed to be driven by a soul. And when the body dies, like, yeah, like that question of where does the soul go? And we'll have more paradigm shift circle discussions on, you know, questions like that, with just like, you know, like what is life beyond death and things of that nature. So Carly, did you want to say something? If so, please by all means go ahead and unmute your microphone. And anybody else who might want to jump up last minute, please by all means raise your hand or come up on stage or etc. Carly, go right ahead if you want to jump in.
Yeah, absolutely. Derek, I felt like you did articulate that very well. And I think some of the best things that we say aren't planned, and it is more speaking from the soul. So it's only appropriate that you would do that. I love everything everyone has said. This has just been a really beautiful space and good discussion. I'm so glad it's recorded. I feel like so much of it, you know, when it happens in the moment, we appreciate it and enjoy it, but to go back and remember and re-listen to this is going to be really, really powerful for me. So I'm so grateful that this one's recorded. I'm looking forward to more recorded sessions as well. So just for my own, you know, re-listening to, even if no one else listens to it, but I also think for the sharing factor and for gaining new members and seeing new faces, like it lights me up. And Deep Soul Mama, I'm so excited to hear you speak. I'm a mother as well. My son and I are enjoying a little smoothie right now and trying to stay cool in the Michigan heat. It's already a hot summer, so thank you all for the space. Loving you all so much from afar, and sending you abundance.
Beautiful. Thank you, Carly, so much for being here. And with that said, we'll get close to just again final closing thoughts. Before we go, Derek, if there's anything else that you might feel called to share before we jump off, just give you another opportunity since you are a little bit later. Feel free to let us know. I know you're a little bit busy, and we'll again just open it up to anybody else who might just want to share any closing thoughts real quick. So If there, yeah, Derek, go ahead. Anything else before we close it off for the day?
Just a quick 30 seconds. I appreciate that, Carly. Thank you, and bless you for the positive affirmation that we all share. I think to just echo what you said, you hit on something that I didn't even bring up, which is I think soul is the most creative, dynamic, fluctuating part of our being that thrives on improvisation, that is not pre-recorded, that cannot be predicted, and that that's one of its strengths, or one of our strengths, is just being in the moment and not having a plan and coming out better than if you did have it all mapped out and orchestrated in advance, pre-orchestrated, preordained. So I think you hit on a really good point, and also thank you for the positive love and reflection that we're all sharing and amplifying here and now. Right back at you. Namaste. Thank you, everyone, for being here and for accepting us and co-creating with love.
Awesome. Thank you again, Derek. And with that said, we'll wrap things up for today's circle. So thank you again for everyone who participated. And yeah, this was a really great discussion, and I'm grateful that people will be able to listen to the recording of it. And yeah, there's a lot more to be able to explore on this topic. So again, just encouraging everyone to continue this discussion, continue this question and many more questions and conversations that each of us can kind of carry with us to have with people in our lives, and to plant seeds and help shift paradigms. And that's literally how we change the world. So what we do here as a team, this is like very good practice, and then continuing these conversations elsewhere and creating those connections, and yeah, helping awaken the soul within us all, or something like that. So cool. All right, so with that said, what we're going to do, I'm just going to do a quick screenshot, and then I'm just going to go over some quick housekeeping, and then from there we'll just go into any closing gratitude and feedback. So I'm just going to do a screenshot, which we normally do at the end of our circles, just post to Discord, Instagram. If anybody would not like to be in the screenshot, please feel free to leave the stage area, and I'll take the screenshot in 5 seconds. 5. Okay, let me just try that. 2 seconds. Perfect. All right, awesome. So thank you again so much, and I look forward to more circles coming up. And for those of you who are here today, again, any leading members, please feel free to let me know if you want to practice facilitating for next week. Especially if you haven't done it before, definitely encouraging you to do so. And new schedule will be released on Saturday, as I mentioned. Please feel free to invite a friend. And if you guys haven't already yet, or if you're not already, feel free to check out the Patreon. That's where you can join as a leading member. We got more exclusive events, and I'm also going to be doing like special events for leading members, really leaning in towards like helping you guys get comfortable and familiar with facilitating spaces, and just stepping into our roles as conscious leaders digitally and physically as well. So again, if you're looking to support this project and get involved as a leading member, that is where you can join on the Patreon and become a member at $11 a month, or $33 at the leading member plus level. And that gives additional like options to work with me with one-on-one sessions and things of that nature to help coaching, tarot, etc., etc., etc. So we'll wrap things up, and keep an eye on the Discord for content from all the leading members and their live broadcasts and events still to come. Again, if you're not on the Discord already and you're listening to this on Spotify or YouTube, the link for that is in the info for this video, and also through my beacons on Instagram at Mystic Spider-Man and TikTok. So thank you so much, everyone. And let's just kind of open up a little bit for just any closing gratitude or feedback on today's circle, and then we'll stop the recording there and we'll call it a day. And yeah, have a lovely weekend. I'm excited that it's Friday, so I'm gonna go sit out in some hot sun and sweat, and hopefully get something cold to drink. So cool. Anybody just want to share any gratitude, feedback on today's circle, please by all means go ahead, and we'll wrap it up shortly after. Cool. All right, we'll save gratitude for many more opportunities still to come. I know everyone's like desperate to just like, we're gonna got things to do, so let's go do those things. Gratitude is always appreciated in any form, so thank you, Jessica. Appreciate it. We'll post up the screenshot in the Discord. You guys can leave your gratitude there, and yeah, looking forward to more circles. So with that said, everyone here, please feel free to gently unmute their microphones. You guys can just like say goodbye, and until next time to everyone listening to the recording of this. So thanks, everyone. Have a great day. Namaste, everyone.
Much love.
You got this. You're an awesome soul. I believe in you. Waving to the camera. There's no camera, but I'm waving. I love you guys. All right, talk to you guys later.
All the best, and you are blessed.
Thank you too, Derek. See you guys later. Much love.